Okay, this will be a challenging one. Never done one of these before. I used to own a couple of these, basically they're special, they're an interesting little toy that I wanted to make this into something nice. The nerds will inherit the copier world. Can't use it with that. Let's see what we have. We have here, it is what's called, I think it's called a snake cube. Yeah, it's like a Rubik's cube that can be made into snake-like figures. So it's a different type of, it is like a puzzle, but you can make all sorts of interesting things out of it. So I'm just going to try and line it up on the glass in an interesting fashion. It's not an easy one to do, folks. But basically, yeah, it's what's called a snake cube. But these were like popular in the, I think it was the early 80s. But now they've come back. And Smiggle, this is the brand of it, Smiggle made this one. This one looks good, like that part looks good. I don't like the rest of it. Maybe we could enlarge it a bit, make it into something more interesting. But it's Smiggle, Smiggle branded. So we're going to maybe enlarge this bigger. But Smiggle is a popular brand of stationery and other kit for children, mainly for children. It's very popular from what I can tell, even though I don't have access to school. I don't have any kids, so I never had children. I never will. I'm too old to have kids. I'm 40. I'm basically 47, so I'm way too old to have children. So I'm not going to have kids, folks. That's pretty much the bottom line. It's not my interest anyway. I've never been a maternal sort of person. I really would prefer to be without children, even though some people might view it as a bit selfish not to have kids. But I think it's more selfish to have kids if you're not a good parent, or if you're not bringing your children up properly. You know, it's best to not have them if you're not going to be a good parent. But that's my 2 cents, folks. I don't have what it takes to be a parent. Parenting isn't my thing. I don't want to bring a child into the world without giving it love. And if bringing it into the world means, how should I put it, not loving it, not being able to give it enough to enjoy a happy life. I'm not rich, so I know money's not everything, folks. I don't believe that people should love money, but we do need money to to be able to buy the things that you might need to bring up a child. But that doesn't mean you got to love money. It just means you got to have enough resources for your children to bring them up happily. You don't want them to be poor. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not an expert on children, so don't take me as gospel, so to speak, because I'm not an expert on children and bringing them up, and I never will be. Now that looks too big, and I've got the edge of the paper there. But yeah, it's just not my thing to have kids. It's not for me, and I want to just be who I am. One day I'll be building photocopiers. I'll be building the future of photocopiers. That's me and my future husband, we're going to build photocopiers that are artificially intelligent. They're going to basically be good for the planet. We're going to make them out of recycled materials as much as we can, instead of ripping more out of the ground with mining. We've got to cut the mining down and just use... Now this is still not looking good. Looks shit house. So we have to fucking find... We've got to basically... I wonder where that's coming from. What side of that? I think it's there. But basically, we got to reduce the amount of mining that we do when we build stuff, because we have only got finite amount of materials in the ground, and it's much more. Uses much more less CO2 if we melt down metals that are already being smelted, so we don't have to make the metals straight out of the ground. This is annoying, but basically we use what we already have, and it's just so much less taxing on our fuels, you know, on our supplies of fuel and shit like that. So, you know, it's much better to use less mined materials and just try to use recycled materials. And also we could end up cleaning the planet up. So we're going to go over to China and India and mine the e-waste or electronic waste dumps over in India and China, and use those materials to build what we want to build. Now, I don't know what we're having here. I keep getting this all the time. So, you know, we have to fucking, think outside the square of things. I don't know why we keep getting that bit up there. Maybe it's here. I think it might be there. I might enlarge it bigger, but basically we've got to think of our environment, we've got to think of the human race. Another feature built into this design would be to manufacture stuff in Australia rather than overseas. So there won't be any slave labour like made in China or made in Vietnam. We're going to make this machine down under, and we're going to pay the workers a really good wage, a wage like no other. And, you know, you've got to basically think outside the box, folks. We've got to think outside the box, to think different, to think new ideas, and also to keep old-fashioned stuff that's good. So, you know, our photocopiers are going to basically be good for the planet, and they're going to basically be made to last. Like in the old days, you know how things used to last many years ago. When you bought something, it would last 50 years, not 5 years. So these photocopiers are going to be designed to last 60 years before they get pulled apart for recycling. They're going to be in commission for 60 years, folks, at least. Or that's the amount we're going to give on spare parts and consumables and servicing. it's going to be lasting. These equipments will end up lasting, and then when they're finally finished their useful date, they get pulled apart for recycling. So when we build these equipments, we think 60 years down the track, and we're going to make these equipments easy to recycle, easy to dismantle for recycling, and that's how we've got to think, folks, for the future, to keep mankind comfortable and happy, and have more equal opportunity for everyone to have a good life. And this is a piece of shit. This is all fucking messy and horrible, and we're even going to cut back on the use of plastics in our design and use more metal. Seriously, we have to think of these things. And but basically, what can I say? I want to be a scientist as well, and one of the things I'd like to do is to find a solution to climate change. So I've got a lot of things I want to do, and the money will come out of my earnings as a CEO. So we're not going to keep money for myself. We're going to have some money for myself, but I don't want to focus on me. I need to make this money and put it to work to help our planet and help human race get on, to keep going. But anyway, that's an interesting piece. I think now we can finally call this demo quits.